Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are now on Chapter 3, Part 1. And the first problem that I want to do together with you guys is problem number 1. So I definitely hope that you're watching this video before you attempt problem number 1 by yourself, because it's a little bit tricky. So what we're going to do for problem number 1 is I'm going to do the problem that's in the book, that's in the actual textbook, and then I've assigned for you to do a problem that's exactly the same format, just with different numbers. So that'll make it a lot easier for you. I think trying to prepare a Schedule C from scratch at this point could be a little bit complex. So if you watch this video, make sure, or not if you watch the video, I know all of you are watching the video, but while you're watching the video, just take really good notes on where I came up with every single number, so that then when you go to do this problem on your own, you can look in the exact same place and use the exact same thinking as I did, and then you'll get all your numbers right. So let's do number 1 together. So here's number 1. Number 1 looks really exciting, right? It's like, oh my gosh, there's this income statement. They're telling us all this information. I have to fill out this big old several page Schedule C. Oh my gosh, I'm scared, right? But it's exciting. You'll find that as we go through each box, it's not that bad. Nothing in tax is all that bad. We're just going to let go of that idea this semester that tax is complicated. It's fun. Okay, so here's an income statement. Scott Butterfield, he happens to be a CPA, which is so cool. Here is his current period income statement. Hopefully all of you have already taken financial accounting, and this looks super, super familiar to you. Here's his prior period, which is the previous year, 2017. We're not going to use any of these prior period numbers, but it's just there so that you can first make sure you're using the right numbers, and then also just for comparison purposes. It's good to have comparative financial statements. Here's some information up here about the business. Additional information down here that we're going to talk about as we go through the problem. And then here's the Schedule C that we're going to fill out. So yours is going to look just like mine, only you're going to have different numbers. Okay. So you can see that some of this stuff here, the system already has filled out for you. That's cool. So we don't have to be typing that kind of stuff in. The next thing that we need to do, or the first thing we need to do, I think this box is already checked. Okay, so we don't have to do that. And these boxes are already checked. So he's using the cash method of accounting. If you took financial accounting, you learned the accrual basis of accounting. This company is using the cash basis of accounting, which is completely fine for, it's just completely fine unless it's a publicly traded company. Did you materially participate in the operation of this business? This person did. Did you make any payments in 2018 that would require that you file a Form 1099? And this says no. And you would have learned a little bit about 1099s in this chapter. Okay, let's fill in the first box. The first box is gross receipts from sales. So where can we get that? We can go up to our income statement. And since this company is on the cash basis, all of the revenue that they have recognized is what they've also received in cash. So let's go up here. Total revenues, 134,042. I'm going to go back down, and I'm sorry for all the scrolling. It's just, I don't think that there's a better way to do this on a video together with you guys. Subtract line 2 from 9.1. So if there's not a box, don't worry about it. Just skip it. There were no returns and allowances for him. But Cengage lets you know if there's something that you need to do, which is super helpful. Gross profit, subtract line 4 from line 3. So we have the same numbers here. So $134,042 is this company's gross income. Now let's go down to the expenses. So I'm not going to keep scrolling up and down because I think that's going to get a little bit annoying. But if you go to page 36 in chapter 3, this problem is right there with all the numbers that I'm going to refer to. So I'm just going to describe where they are, and then you'll find them. And you can pause this video and watch it 20 times if you want to. Okay, advertising. You know what? I'm actually going to put the problem in front of me too, because that's going to make it a lot easier. Okay, so for advertising, the advertising expense shows up on the income statement. It's an operating expense. Advertising and promotion was $350. Then we have car and truck expenses. So this one I actually am going to scroll up and show you something. And then you'll know where to look when you do the problem on your own. So right here, where it says Scott placed a business auto into service on January 1st, 2015, and drove it 3,829 miles for business. This 3,829 is the number that we need to come up with these automobile expenses. The miles for commuting and non-business purposes are going to go in a place later on in the tax return. So get your calculator out. 3,829 is the number of miles. And then what is the standard deduction for mileage per mile in 2018? You can look it up in your book again, or I'm going to tell you. It's 54.4 cents. So I'm going to take 3,829 and multiply it times 0.545, which is 54.5 cents, right? And I get $2,086.80.5. So I'm going to round that up. We don't put any cents on these forms. So I'm going to enter 2,087. Insurance is on the income statement. If you look for insurance, it is $875. Then we have office expenses. So what we're doing here for office expenses, and kind of make a note of this when you go to do the problem on your own, because I think this one can be a little bit confusing because we're going to handle, well, you'll see. Okay, so see how on the income statement it says that office expense is $150. And then right below that you see postage and delivery for $50. We are going to combine those into be $200. Everything will get addressed, I promise. So if you have questions in your mind, just hold tight for a second. And then number 20, our rent or lease. So we pay rent for our office. If you look on the income statement, office rent is $14,000. Supplies. Okay, so the supplies that they're talking about is a little bit higher on the income statement under cost of services. That supplies number there, $1,548. Taxes and licenses, we're going to combine two things for that one. Go look at, where is it? Okay, payroll taxes, which is right above supplies, the $23.87. So we're going to take $23.87 and add to that, go down a little bit further on your income statement where it says business licenses and permits. So $23.87 plus $250 gives us $26.37. Travel under operating expenses is $865. Deductible meals. So you'll see, if you look on the income statement, you can see that our meals expense was $5,500, but you will remember, because you already read the chapter, that we can only deduct 50% of business meals. So the deductible meals, which is 50% of the $5,500, is $2,750. Utilities, that's on the income statement, $2,978. Wages. Wages are under cost of services. That's those salaries of $30,100. And then other expenses from line 48. So let's go look at line 48. What are they talking about with line 48? Here's line 48. Are there any other expenses that we didn't list already? And there are. There was continuing education, which was on the income statement, $300. And then there was printing, which is on the income statement as printing and reproduction, $100. Total, $400. Now I'm going to go back up to where I was, line 400, or sorry, 400 from line 48. Okay, what are all our total expenses? You're going to, when you do your problem on your own, you're going to add them all up. But the total here, I already added it up, is $58,790. So if we take our gross income minus our total expenses, that gives us our tentative profit, which is, okay, so 134,042 minus 58,790 gives us 75,252. That also carries down here. See, this is not scary, right? But if you had to do this problem on your own, I think there's a couple things that could have been a little bit confusing, but you still would have got most of it right anyway, just by doing what the form says, you know? Okay. Where's another thing that we need to fill out? We need to fill out number 43. Okay, so 43 says, when did you place your vehicle in service for business purposes? Remember, they told us that in the problem. If you go back up to where we looked at that information about the number of miles that he drove, he told us, or not he told us, the problem told us that we placed this vehicle in service for business purposes on January 1st, 2015. The number of miles that he drove for business was 3829. Commuting was 3250, and other 4500. Was your vehicle available for personal use? You're doing off-duty hours. Did they tell us that information? They didn't say otherwise. The answer to this one is almost always yes. Do you or your spouse have another vehicle available for personal use? The answer is yes. They told us that in the information that his wife has a car that's for personal use. Do you have evidence to support your deduction? Of course we do. We make all sorts of good notes and about the miles that we drive. We document them. And then it's asking, is this evidence written? Because yes, we are diligent accountants and we keep track of all of our records, or at least Scott Butterfield does. So you wouldn't really want to say no here ever, right? Because why would you want to tell the IRS, like, no, I don't have anything to support this deduction and it's all in my head. It's, it's not written. So, obviously it's yes. Okay, and then we want to complete a reconciliation of book expenses to tax expenses. And where's my sheet of paper here? Okay, so one last thing that we want to do is complete this reconciliation of book expenses to tax expenses. The book expenses we can get from looking at our income statement. So book means the books, the financial statements. So we have two sections of expenses on our income statement. One is the cost of services and one is the operating expenses. So if we take the total cost of services of $34,035 and add $29,193, that gives us the book expenses, which are $63,228. And the total disallowed expenses for tax purposes. So there's a couple expenses on here that are disallowed for tax purposes. So they tell us in the problem that number one, the charitable contribution amount of $275 is for a political action committee. Political expenditures are not deductible for tax purposes. So that one is disallowed. And then there's also dues and subscriptions you can see on there for $3,500. That is, they tell us on here, the expense for dues and subscriptions were his country club membership dues for the year. That's not a deductible expense for business purposes. It's not a necessary and ordinary expense of being a CPA. So that's not deductible for tax purposes. And then we have one more thing. So remember when you looked at the meals, $5,500, remember how we were only able to deduct half of it? Well, the other half is non-deductible. So if we take half of $5,500, which is $2,750, and then we add the $3,500 for dues and subscriptions. And then we add those charitable contributions, which were really political contributions of $275. We get $65.25. And then additional expense deduction for tax. Remember, we had those auto expenses that we came up with. Those were $2,087. That was his mileage. So our total tax expenses are $58,790. And then I'm sure that you've already realized this by now. I hope you do. There's this check my work function on all your problems. You get to check your work up to 5 times. So totally take advantage of that. Okay, I'm going to end the video now because this was one really long problem. And then the other problems that we're going to do together for chapter 3, I'm going to have in separate videos because I don't want this video to be so long.